Goodwin with me today, and today we're going to do a special book.
How to win her and influence him.
And as Genie was writing that book, because of the work we've done together, I asked her, would you write a chapter? And so the 13th chapter, boy, what a name, 13th chapter, she wrote, and the 13th chapter is titled what?
How to win her and influence him at work.
I'm going to do a little brief interview with her about those of you in business who maybe never even stopped to think that this little red book could be the solution to some of your business conflicts.
You know, relationships can be really hard, whether it's at work or at home. And what I found is the more understanding you have, the better your relationships can be. And the book was written to give you a level of understanding of the he said, she said, male-female dynamic that happens in relationships at home and, yes, at work. It's actually the same dynamic that happens at home that happens at work. One is just a deeper, intimate level than the other one.
So tell me how a man works in business, how a woman works in business, and how the miscommunication creates the business conflict.
Oh, I love it. You actually gave me a loaded question, which I adore this question, because women have found in order to survive in the business world, they have to take on masculinity, they have to enter the male world, and they have to play by men's rules. What most women and men are unaware of is the minute that a woman does that, she actually cuts off all of her greatest strengths, which are feminine. And she also cuts off a great amount of benefit to the organization that they no longer have access to, and I'll explain that. The way a man is wired to work, you can think of him as the hunter. You can think of him as the conqueror. You can think of him as the warrior. These are all male traits that we all recognize. These are all male metaphors. And so when a man wants to accomplish something, he thinks of it as winning, as achieving, and accomplishing. He wants to win. That's where the title of the book, how to win her. He wants to win in a relationship. So everything about the way that he's looking at it is going to be win, and it's going to be single focused, because that's the way his brain is wired. He actually can only think about one thing at a time, really because of the way the corpus callosum is different between a male and female. Men's brains are wired different than women's brains. Therefore, they think differently, they act differently, and they react differently than women. It's about achieve, accomplish, get it done. Doesn't this sound male to you?
I do business that way.
Yeah, but you also mentioned you do business in male.
I do, yes. And
yes.
I also do a conversion to female.
Absolutely.
But we're going to get into that a little bit later.
So that's the way men work. Single focused, get her done. It's all about numbers. It's all about proving that I've achieved. The other thing you need to understand about men and the way they tend to work is when they're working on a problem solution, a solution to a problem that they're trying to achieve, they will not talk it out typically in a group. They will actually think it silently in their head and come to you with the answer. Now, a female doesn't do that. And so this actually comes into some of the communication problems we run into, because if a woman is talking about a problem, because that's the way a woman would process, he's going to think she doesn't know what she's doing and she doesn't have an answer. It's an automatic thing. He doesn't think his way through it. He just judges her as if she was a man and should only speak about the problem if she's got an answer. So she's talking details of the problem, which is totally female. Talk details. You can see the damage it does in relationships. A woman is multi-focused, multitasking, and the reason why is because she has much more connections in her brain across the corpus callosum. Her corpus callosum, the part of your brain that connects the right and left halves together, is larger in a woman. She has something like, forgive me if my math is wrong, 70% more connections in her brain. So she can multitask, whereas a man with less connections actually has a really hard time multitasking. She also has a very hard time thinking of only one thing at a time, which she's all over the room. She's picking up everybody's feelings in the room. And she's also all about relationship, whereas he's all about achievement. Typically, female, and I'm just talking female, I'm not talking personally. Mm-hmm. I'm talking female-male dynamics. Typically, she's about creating a relationship in the organization, creating a relationship with her sales team, with her leadership team. She's about making sure everybody is a part of and creating organization-wide dynamics, whereas a man is really about the bottom line and get it done. There's the biggest difference you're going to find. I can bring femininity and her gift for relationships into an organization and let her flourish, and let him bring in the bottom line, that's an amazing team right there. Instead of cutting off all the femininity and not allowing her to show up as a feminine woman, but really show up pretending to be a man. And I don't mean that to be offensive in any way, shape, or form. What these women have accomplished is absolutely outstanding. And no matter how much a woman acts like a man, there is still a feminine core. There's still a gift that only the feminine can bring. And it's always about relationship.
So a woman will put on a male mask and a man will put on, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because it's not pretending, it really is. We do have to wear our male masks sometimes.
Absolutely.
And we're a woman behind a male mask.
Absolutely.
And there are women in business that will never have any men in their business. And they will run their business differently.
Absolutely.
And so those are the things that I'd love to have a dialogue on, as far as the gifts of a woman in business, the gifts of a man in business, and really how to make them blend.
Yeah.
So no matter what, it is about an extended family that makes lots of money, not at the expense of the team.
Yeah. So typically, when a woman wants to go into business, and in this male-dominated business world, she puts on a male mask in order to show up, which is really what you just said a few minutes ago. In order to succeed, you step into masculinity. First thing I want you to understand is every woman has the ability to step into masculinity. And every man has the ability to step into femininity.
Absolutely.
And we've all experienced that.
Right.
So we're really talking about a nature, a feminine nature versus a masculine nature. That's really all that we're talking about. But when a woman puts on a male mask in order to succeed and achieve in the business world, the man who is near her will automatically put on a female mask. Because there's a polarity that happens in relationships, in all relationships.
This is the whole point of this class. I want you to really start to learn that, and in Jeannie's book you're going to get that. This polarity, if one dances, in fact it's like dancing with salsa. I had the hardest time dancing with salsa because
two can't lead.
Exactly. And so when one leads, the other has to follow.
Yes.
And it's really in that dynamics of the dance of men and women in business.
Absolutely.
That I believe your skills absolutely soar. And then giving a few little key points of, look, when he says this, remember, as a woman, he really means that. And when she says this, remember, as a man, she really means this.
Yeah.
I have to say this, and this is a massive aha for you, for women in business. When I kind of do both, but when it gets to the bottom line, I go boom, 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 and a woman can't trust me.
That's right.
Because I didn't add in the fluff.
That's right.
The emotion.
The detail.
Yes. And when I get too much fluff with a man,
and now they can't trust
boom,
you.
Boom, boom.
That's right.
Exactly. And
Do you see that?
Yes.
Two different languages for two different reasons. And if you don't understand what language the person is speaking to you, you will get miscommunicated, mistranslated, and that's where all of this starts happening in teams, in organizations, with clients, with customers, because you thought you were talking to the same sex, and you thought they understood what you had to say.
Or when you're talking business as a woman, or when you're talking business as a man, understand that just because it's a business language doesn't mean you don't take into consideration the male or the female dynamics.
Absolutely.
Because coming back and saying, I need an apology, and now this is where it's going to go, if the bottom line means give her the dadgum apology and your finances are going to soar, or vice versa, you don't want to lose someone like that because of the miscommunication of distrust.
Yeah.
And you get down to it because, you know, our dad taught us that people are basically honest. And I've worn that for so long. Yet, the longer I go in business, the more I go, Dad must have been wrong. So, now I have you to come in and say, no, it's not distrust.
It's a different language.
It really is.
It's a different language
Really
that is offending both sides of the coin. And if you don't understand the language, if you're male dominated and you came out of the armed forces system and you come in and you've got a team of women and you're get her done in the meeting and they can't add any details, you are missing out on the wealth of talent sitting in that room. Not only that, but you're offending every woman in that room. And now, can you imagine what it does to profits? Can you imagine what it does to accountability? And you think you're working with all men because maybe the women have on that male mask in order to achieve. Can you see how amazingly complicated it can get? Except if you understood male-female dynamics, you can work with anybody. You can make anybody feel loved, honored, appreciated, and they're going to want to work with you. They're going to want to lay down their lives for your organization and for you, and you're going to love the teamwork and the synchronicity that begins to flow because you've honored femininity and you've honored masculinity instead of assuming that everybody's the same and they all just need to get their work done.
And so I'm going to end this as a financial strategist. I'm going to challenge all of you watching that if you could go, and I put this down there, how do you put a financial value to the role of relationship and team building that a woman brings to the table? And I'm going to challenge you because right now in business, we do not value the emotional support, the camaraderie, the team player, or the most important piece, how to build and reinforce trust. Whether it's with your customer base, whether it's with an alliance, whether it's with your partner or your shareholders or the team on the line, how do you reinforce trust? And how do you put a financial value to trust? And I challenge each one of you to go look at your bottom line. Look at the value, the bottom line that brings in profitability to the company. How can we take your bottom line, your profitability, and really make it soar, get exponential growth through some alliances, through some relationships, and how to grow that relationship so that you multiply your profits tenfold, 1,000-fold by understanding the relationship part of business. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to working with you and building that male-female
Dynamics.
and trust in your business so your income soars.